This is the story of Henry, our pet chameleon. So, this is the story about Henry, who is the pet chameleon. Once, when grandfather was visiting a friend, he came upon a noisy scene at the garden gate. So, when the grandfather was visiting his friend's house, he came to see a noisy place at the garden gate. People were shouting, throwing stones, and waving sticks. People were shouting, throwing stones, and threatening with sticks. The cause of this disturbance was a chameleon that had been sitting calmly on a shrub. This is because there was a chameleon who was sitting quietly on a shrub. Someone claimed that the chameleon could poison people 20 feet away simply by spitting at them. Someone has declared that the chameleon could poison people 20 feet away by simply spitting at them. Grandfather was just in time to save the chameleon and he brought the little reptile home. Now, what the grandfather did? And he quickly took the chameleon and brought the little reptile to the home. That chameleon was Henry, and that was how he came to live with us. Henry trusted nobody and treated my friendliest gestures with suspicion. Henry do not used to believe anybody and treated my friendliest gestures, treated the author's friendly gestures, friendly signs with doubt. I would tickle him gently in the ribs. I would touch him softly in the ribs. This always made him very angry. He would blow himself up to an enormous size, sit up on his hind legs, and sway from side to side, hoping to frighten me. This would blow himself to a bigger in size, sit up on his back legs, move from side to side, and jumping to frighten me. Opening his mouth very wide, he would let out an angry hiss, an angry sound. But he was a harmless fellow. He do not use to harm anybody. If I put my finger in his mouth, he would simply wait for me to take it out again. If the author puts his finger inside the chameleon's mouth, he would simply wait for the author to take it out. I suppose he would bite, but he was convinced that his teeth were there only for the purpose of chewing food, not fingers. I think means the author thinks he that the chameleon was sure that his teeth is only for the purpose of chewing food, not for fingers, not for chewing the fingers. If I was patient, Henry would take food from my hands. If I sit patiently, Henry used to take the food from my hands. This he did very swiftly, this he did very quickly. His tongue was a sort of boomerang which came back to him with the food and insect victim attached to it. His tongue used to work as a boomerang which moves very fast, which used to come back to him with an insect victim with an insect prey attached to the tongue. Before I knew it, the grasshopper between my fingers would be between Henry's jaws. Before the author understands anything, the grasshopper between my fingers, that means the prey from my fingers, from the author's fingers, would be between Henry's jaws. That means would be inside Henry's mouth. Henry's eyes were his most remarkable possession. Henry's eyes were the most extraordinary thing that he has. Each eyeball bulging out from his head wobbled up and down, backward and forward. Each eyeball bulging out, coming out from his head, wobbled up and down, moving up and down, backward and forward. That means his eyeball used to move like this. These movements made him appear quite scary. These movements of his eyeball appeared very frightening. He could move one eye without disturbing the other. He could move one eye without disturbing the other eye. Whenever I visited Henry, his nearest eye would move round until he could see me clearly. Whenever the author used to visit Henry, his nearest eye means his closest eye from the author would move round until he could see me clearly. Then he would stop and the other eye would look in a different direction, and the other eye used to look at a different direction. So here we complete today. We will continue in the next class. So what we have understood today about the remarkable eyeballs of chameleon, how it looks, how he eats his prey, how he behaves with the author, and how he was saved by the grandfather.